Welcome to the Super Bowl 57 player prop show here on Vegas Insider. Kevin Rogers with you when we finally reached a Super Bowl week. The Eagles and the Chiefs getting set for the big game coming up on Sunday out at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. And we will have 3 player props for each team as we bring on our panelists, our experts, Bijolle and Sam Wagman. They are with us here today as they've been with us all throughout the postseason. And each of them has 3 player props to hand out. And we'll begin with Sam. And Sam, give us your first player prop for Super Bowl 57. You're starting on the Eagles side of things.
Yes, I am. And I'm going to start out with a play that I view as a little bit mispriced. And it's Miles Sanders to go over an alternate rushing total of 74.5. And you can find this over at DraftKings at plus 200. Now, Sanders has already hit this number in 7 games this season. He's been on a little bit of a tear and a little bit of an off week last week, but he still scored 2 touchdowns against a really tough San Francisco defense. And the way the Eagles carried out that game plan told me one thing in particular. The Eagles want to run the ball, and they want to run the ball as often as they can. Now, Kansas City presents as a really strong run defense when you look at them on paper. But here's the problem. Whenever they play a team that is in the top half of rushing DVOA, they give up over 5 yards a carry, and they struggle. So I think the Eagles are going to run a lot more than people think. The Chiefs have done pretty well at limiting downfield plays. So there's probably going to be an emphasis on shutting down guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith from having massive downfield games. The Eagles are just going to run the ball if they can because that's what they like to do. Plus 200 means 33% implied odds. But Miles' original line is 62.5, which means that the books think that there is a 50% chance that he gets to that number. And if there's a 50% chance of him getting to 62.5, what do you guys think are the odds that he gets to 75, which is only 13 yards more? If the Eagles are in as good a game script for them to be able to give Miles the ball enough to get to 62, I think there's a very good chance that he could get to 75 with a few more runs after that. And I think there's more a 40 to 45% chance than 33% chance. So I view this as a little bit of a mispriced line. And Sanders is 6th in DVOA amongst running backs, and he has the 3rd highest rushing success rate in the NFL this season.
So we'll see if Miles Sanders can bust 75 yards coming up on Sunday. Now we stay on the Philadelphia side of the ball as we go to Jill. And Jill, you like Jalen Hurts as your first prop, and I guess you have the play scripted up on the board that he's going to get a touchdown there.
Yes, I'm taking Jalen Hurts anytime score. He has had 15 rushing touchdowns this season. 2 of the 15 have come in the playoffs. He leads the league in rushing touchdowns for a quarterback this past season. The over has hit 4 out of the last 5 games for Jalen Hurts anytime score. The guy is mobile and he enjoys using his legs. He will do just that. Kansas City, they are not that great in the red zone, which is where I find their run game to be very effective for Philadelphia, as Sam was just talking about the running back. The Eagles have scored 4.8 points per red zone drive this season, 2nd best in the NFL. The Chiefs have allowed 4.6 points per red zone drive this season. The Chiefs have also allowed 37 touchdowns when defending the red zone this season. So not great odds, and I do expect to see Mr. Hurts using his legs enough to get him in the end zone.
And we'll see if he'll do that coming up on Sunday. And we go back to Sam now. And Sam, you went with the Philadelphia running back, your first prop. Now you're going to go to a Kansas City running back for your second prop.
Yeah. And the important thing to note here is that right before this broadcast started, Kansas City announced that they were activating Clyde Edwards-Helaire from the reserve/injured list. Now, that doesn't exactly mean that he's going to play, but it presents a pretty strong argument that Edwards-Helaire, who reportedly was almost activated for the AFC Championship game against Cincy, is going to be activated this game. And obviously that just dilutes the rushing pool even further for this Chiefs team that already doesn't want to run the ball. They're one of the heaviest neutral pass heavy teams in the NFL. So that's going to be a huge talking point this week is what do the Chiefs do on the ground and against an Eagles team that has looked a little bit susceptible to running the ball. So you have to keep in mind that there is going to be some avenues for the Chiefs to run. But what they've liked to do is focus on Isaiah Pacheco when running the football lately. And he's taken over a bigger role in the passing game as well. He had 5 catches for over 50 yards against Cincinnati. So that's going to be a huge thing. That results in a big tick down in usage for Jerick McKinnon. Now, his rushing prop is currently at 21.5. Full disclosure, I took this at 25.5 when it was on PointsBet earlier in the week. It has now since dropped to 20.5 on there, and it's over at 21.5 at BetMGM. Now, he hasn't hit this in 4 of his last 5 games. If you count the 25.5 line, he hasn't hit it in any of his last 5 games. But he's averaging under 3 yards per carry in those 5 games because the game against Jacksonville, where he did go over this number, he had 11 carries for 25 yards. He has not been good on the ground, and he really just doesn't show a lot of explosivity anymore. He's 30. He's had a couple ACL injuries. So he's more a pass catching specialist at this point in his career, and he's mostly been used as a change of pace back lately. So, like we said, CEH is active. This is going to limit McKinnon's availability even further, and I really just don't think that McKinnon is going to get that many opportunities against an Eagles offense that really wants to step on the gas. So the Chiefs already won't be in a good enough game script for them to go ahead with the running game.
Now, sticking on the Kansas City side, we go back to Jill, and Patrick Mahomes' top weapon is Travis Kelce. And what do you think about Travis Kelce and what he'll do from a receiving yard standpoint on Sunday, Jill?
Yeah, I'm actually going to take him. His line is currently at 80.5 receiving yards, and I'm going to take that under on that one. Now, the big talk is Patrick Mahomes and his ankle, and that's a big unknown. This does affect Kelce because he is Mahomes' number 1 target. With Mahomes not being mobile and getting the ball out necessarily as fast as he could, that becomes a big issue. When the line opened at 78.5, and it has been set at that throughout the regular season, Kelce has gone under 6 out of the last 10 games at the 78.5 line. The last 2 games he did hit the over, but I'm going to be fair here. I don't think he was properly covered by defenses, where I'm looking at a Philadelphia defense that is scary. They led the league in sacks this season, so they have no issue getting to the quarterback, which poses an issue for Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball. I expect a lot of double coverage for Travis Kelce, and their defense has really been effective at limiting tight ends throughout the regular season. So I feel like they will have no issue limiting Travis Kelce and stopping him from being Patrick Mahomes' number 1 target.
Yeah, Travis Kelce, he's had a big season for Kansas City this year, considering there's no Tyreek Hill, and it's Kelce and a bunch of guys out there, it seems like. But Kelce, we'll see what he does coming up on Sunday. Now back to Sam for your third and final prop. And Jill had Jalen Hurts anytime scorer. Who do you like on Philadelphia for an anytime scorer, Sam?
Yeah, my favorite anytime touchdown scorer is another Philadelphia player. And I think you're getting them in a really good line. The line's dropped a little bit. I think it opened at around plus 220 earlier last week, but now it's down to plus 175, and it's Dallas Goedert to score an anytime touchdown on BetMGM. And look, we've seen Dallas Goedert show out in a bunch of spots here. He doesn't need to get a whole ton of catches to get in the end zone. And he's struggled in his career to get in the end zone, but he takes advantage of good spots. And the Eagles prefer to go to him early, and they like to look to him in the red zone. And they should do that against the Kansas City defense that ranks 28th in the red zone against the tight end position this season. Now, they're good on paper against tight end, but here's the problem. They haven't really played anyone this year outside of George Kittle. And when they played George Kittle earlier this season, he had 6 catches for 98 yards against them. So they give up yards to the tight end position. And they, again, like I said, they struggle in the red zone against tight end. They're 31st in the NFL this season against tight ends that line up in the slot. Dallas Goedert has one of the higher slot lineup percentages at 30%. They also allow the second most touchdowns to players that line up in the slot. And the Chiefs will focus on stopping A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith downfield, like I mentioned earlier. That's going to leave the middle of the field open for Dallas Goedert to work where he works best. Not to mention, the Chiefs lost one of their linebackers last week. Willie Gay went down, and he's one of their better coverage linebackers this season. So they're going to need, if Willie Gay doesn't play or he plays hurt, they're going to need other players to step up. And the problem with the Chiefs defense is they're not only running a bunch of rookies at the cornerback position, they got injuries all over the place. That's going to leave them vulnerable to the Eagles' skill position players who are among the best in the league. So I think Dallas Goedert has a very solid game here. I like him to get in the end zone. I like him much more than A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith to score. And I think this is a great number.
And all the targets Jalen Hurts has to throw to, we'll see if Goddard can get in the end zone, especially on inside the 10-yard line. But back to Jill, though, with her third and final prop. And Kansas City, you like a team prop with them as far as getting in the end zone on the ground. What do you like there, Jill?
Yes, I am taking Kansas City under a half team total rushing touchdowns. Kansas City has not had a solid run offense all season. To be quite frank, they really haven't had a solid run offense in the last couple of years. Seems like Mahomes has been using his running backs for a lot of small chunk pass plays. They're a lot more effective that way to him. Last week, they did try to use the run game, again, alluding to that ankle injury he's been dealing with, but it failed big time. He really couldn't get the run game going. The running backs account for 10 rush touchdowns this season. Isaiah Pacheco with 5. Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 3, Jerick McKinnon with 1, and Ronald Jones II with 1. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming back, as Sam mentioned earlier, for the Super Bowl. But I'm not expecting much out of the run game for them. The pass rush for Philadelphia is very good. They do lead the league in sacks, and that front four does it all. And Philly's not using the blitz all that much. I'm really not expecting them to get the run game going against this Philly defense, which is very good. So they're not making it in the end zone with any of their running backs. They're probably going to use them for some small chunk pass plays, but that's about all I'm going to see.
Will be very interesting coming up on Sunday. And we have 6 props to keep an eye on for this game, Super Bowl 57, the big game, Kansas City and Philadelphia, coming up on Sunday evening. And we're going to come back with you on Wednesday at 1 o'clock as we have more props to hand out, and we get to the exotic props. I guess I don't want to use the term silly, but exotic props, and we'll look at some of them. Sam and Jill will have some to give you for Super Bowl 57. So looking forward to that coming up on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And also, too, if you missed any of this show today, we will have these clips on our Twitter feed at Vegas Insider, so keep an eye out for it. If you want to watch the whole thing, go to our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider TV in case you came in late. But you could find the props there, either on Twitter or at YouTube on Vegas Insider TV. Again, if you want to find Jill and or Sam on Twitter, you can find Jill at It's Jill Bijolle, and also Sam at Swagman95 on Twitter. And Jill and Sam, thank you so much for the time, as always. We'll talk to you in a few days.
Let's go. Go Eagles.
All right, that is Sam Wagman and Jill Bijolle. I am Kevin Rogers. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to our Super Bowl 57 player prop show right here on Vegas Insider.